Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Size App. This is the fourth video in the series for AWS to help you understand the central components in Amazon Web Services, which is the cloud services offered by Amazon. I know I forget to say this in every video, but please like, comment, and share my videos so that I can create better content in the future. Today's topic of discussion is AWS Security, Identity, and Compliance Offerings. So if you go to docs.aws.com, you will see that they have many different services. And for the certification purposes, you don't need to know exactly all of them, but there are a couple that you should be aware of at a high level what they are and how they should be used. So to group them, I've divided into 5 different categories. One, in terms of security, there is incident response. Second, there's identity and access management. Third, detective control. Fourth, infrastructure security. Fifth, data protection. So I'll deep dive into each one of them and where each service falls into. So first, identity access management. So it helps you define, enforce, and manage user access policies across all engaged AWS services. So under this, you have AWS Directory Service, which helps integrate Active Directory-dependent workloads such as Amazon EC2 for Microsoft Windows Server or Amazon RDS for SQL Server, custom .NET applications, and AWS Enterprise with Microsoft Active Directory. The second is Identity and Access Management, IAM. It's controlling users' access to and usage of AWS services that you create. So there's create and manage users and groups and grant or deny access to your resources. And it helps you enforce strong authorization and authentication. Then third, under this umbrella of Identity and Access Management, you have AWS Organizations, which means that it centrally helps you manage the creation and policies applied to the multiple AWS accounts. Second important security issue is detective control. Detective control allows you to gain the visibility you need to spot issues before they impact the business. It improves your security posture and reduces the risk profile for your environment. So under this, you have AWS CloudTrail, which is, if you look at the documentation, it's under monitoring. So CloudTrail helps you it enables governance, compliance, and operational auditing and risk auditing of your AWS account. It helps you log continuously and monitor and retain events related to API calls across all your AWS infrastructure. Second is AWS Config. It helps you facilitate resource inventory and configuration history and configuration change notifications to enable security and governance. Third is Amazon CloudWatch. It helps you monitor AWS cloud resources and applications running on AWS, collecting and tracking metrics, collecting and monitoring log files, setting alarms, and automatically reacting to changes to your AWS resources. Third would be data protection. So under data protection, you have It helps you automatically encrypt your data and helps you with the management of services and employs more features for data protection, including data management, data security, and encryption key storage. So under this, you have Cloud HSM, which is Cloud Hardware Security Model. This kind of helps meet corporate, contractual, and regulatory compliance requirements for data security by using dedicated hardware security module appliances. The second one you have under this category of data protection is AWS Key Management Service. I know in my previous videos I touched on this a little bit. So this helps you create and control the encryption keys used to encrypt your data. The fourth umbrella is infrastructure security. In terms of when comparing with other cloud providers, AWS offers capabilities to manage and increase privacy for the customers, and in order to control all of the infrastructure that you have built in AWS. The components that are essential to remember under this umbrella are EC2 Systems Manager, which helps you automatically manage inventory, apply OS patches, create secure system images, and configure secure operating systems. Second is AWS Certificate Manager, which helps you provision, manage, and deploy secure sockets layer, which is SSL layer, or transport layer security, or TLS certificates. Third would be AWS Shield, which thwarts denial of service attacks by configuring select AWS service to build a solution or employ DDoS, dedicated managed service. Fourth would be Amazon Web Application Firewall, known as WAF, which protects your web applications from common web exploits that could impact availability, security, and resources. Fifth would be Amazon Inspector. It employs automated security assessments that help improve the security and compliance of applications deployed on AWS. The sixth and last under the infrastructure security umbrella is virtual private cloud. I know we discussed this earlier when discussing EC2, so please refer to my video AWS Compute if you need to know a little bit more about VPCs. But VPCs at a high level help you provision a logically isolated section of AWS where you can launch AWS resources in a virtual network that you define. Last umbrella is the incident response. So during an incident, containing the event and returning to a known good state are important elements of any response plan. So AWS provides the following tools to automate aspects of this best practice. So you have the AWS config rules, which allows you to create rules that automatically take action in response to changes in your environment, such as isolating resources, enriching events with additional data, or restoring configuration to a known good state. And second would also be AWS Lambda, which we discussed at length in the previous video. So please refer to some of my earlier videos to know more about Lambda. This was discussed in AWS Compute video. So Lambda allows you to use the serverless compute service to scale the programmed automated response to incidents. So under these 5 umbrellas, these are the 5 essential umbrellas for security, identity, and compliance that AWS offers. I hope you enjoyed my video. I know it's a little bit shorter, and I wanted to take the next 2-3 minutes to actually go over IAM services, as this is the most used. So what is an IAM, or Identity Access Management? It is a web service that helps you securely control access to AWS resources. You can use an IAM to control who is authenticated and authorized to use resources. When you first create an AWS account, you begin with a single sign-in identity that has complete access to all the AWS services and resources in the account. So this identity is called the AWS account root user, and it's accessed by signing in with the email address and password that you need to create the account. AWS strongly recommends that you do not use a root user for your everyday tasks, even the administrative ones. So instead, adhere to some of the best practices outlined in using IAM users, and I will dedicate a separate video for that. So then, once it's securely locked away, the root user credentials, and you can use them to perform only a few account and service management tasks. There are some features that you should be aware of for IAM services. So shared access to your AWS account. So you can grant other people, like your team members, permission to administer and use resources in your AWS account without having to share your password or access key. There's also IAM also allows granular permission, which means that you can grant different permissions to different people for different resources depending on your team layers. For example, you might allow some users complete access to Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2, Simple Storage Service, S3, DynamoDB, Redshift, or other AWS services. For other users, you can allow read-only access to just S3 buckets where they won't be able to make edits, or permission to administer just some EC2 instances or access your billing information but nothing else. Third, it also allows you to secure access to AWS resources for applications that run on EC2. You can use IAM features to securely provide credentials for applications that run on EC2 instances. So these credentials provide permissions for your applications to access other AWS resources, for example, including S3 buckets and DynamoDB tables. There's also multi-factor authentication, which is very key in understanding. You can add two-factor authentication to your account and to individual users for extra security. So with your MFA authentication, you or your users must provide not only a password or access key to work with your account, but also a code from a specific, specially configured device. There's also identity federation. You can allow users who already have passwords elsewhere, for example, in your corporate network or with an internet identity provider, to get temporary access to your AWS account. So these are some of the core that you should really remember for IAM. Most important is MFA, granular permissions, and shared access to your AWS account, and securing access to your resources. So please like, subscribe, and share my videos for future videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.